There's a myth of aging that you are being told that on this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, not only do we want to identify it for you, but we want to help you understand what to do about it. We're going to cue our introduction and dive right into this conversation. And welcome back, everybody, to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we are discussing and highlighting a big myth around aging. And it's something that we are told by the media. It's something that we are told by many professionals in many fields. And honestly, it ends up holding a lot of people back from really living life the way they want to live it. And so today we want to identify what this big myth is for you and teach you how to go about overcoming it, navigating it, really what you should be doing instead of buying into this myth. We want to let you know that if what we're discussing today is something that you want to take action on and you would like our guidance on that, that's exactly what we can help you do at our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, using muscle activation techniques. All you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to www.matschaumburg.com, click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. So there's this big myth about aging that I think so many people buy into because we are told it all the time. We're told it, from the time we are young, and we continue to be told it, as people get older and older and older. And I think one of the things that not only perpetuates this myth, but also makes it really believable is we feel like we see evidence of it all around us. And this big myth is that the number one health issue or complaint or concern that you're going to have as you grow older is your metabolism is going to slow down. That's what people are telling us. That's what people are focused on. Is like, oh, well, my metabolism is just slowing down. My metabolism is getting slower. That I'm putting on weight, and it's my metabolism is just not what it used to be, and it's because I'm getting older. It's because of this aging thing, and we're not saying that that's not true, but we're also saying that that's not actually the primary concern. That's not the thing that is going to be holding you back as you age. And we have seen this to be true time and time and time and time and time again, where if we stop focusing on the metabolism and instead focus on something completely different, not only does the metabolism get helped, but all the other things that you're wanting to do in your life become way easier.
That's right. And the thing that people are missing is your strength. The thing that is changing as you age is your strength. And the other thing that you've got to know about this strength thing is the biggest thing that determines your strength is not your age. And we always blame our age. I'm weaker because I'm 60 now. I'm 70 now. It's because I've lived all these years and now, everyone just gets weaker, right? Charlie was saying we see all these proofs, right? But most people are losing their strength and blame it on age. But the biggest reason why we lose our strength is our lifestyle, is the physical inputs that we put into our body. The thing that is so common as people age is that they do less and less. They work out less and less. They're physically active less and less, even in ways that they don't even realize. I've trained so many women and they're like, Julie, just you wait. When you hit 60, it is so much harder. I'm like, for what? To lose weight, to do all these things. And then it's funny, in my head, I'm always thinking, well, it sounds like probably because you're just really, I'm sure there are components that change in your body, but a big one is that you are moving and being active and strength training much, much less. And so what's so interesting is because some of this goes under the radar. We don't even realize it. We think about maybe our exercise time as time in the gym only, which that is very important. But a lot of people, that stays the same, right? Like if you worked out 3 to 4 times a week at the gym, maybe you're still working out 3 to 4 times a week. But what happens outside of there? I think part of the American dream is that as we get older, we should relax more and still get all the benefits of health that we got when we weren't relaxing more. And so it's like I'm older, I deserve to relax. But you know what? You also deserve to be healthy, and that requires activity. In fact, I was just talking to a client. I have so many stories about this, and I can't wait to share them all. But an example of this going under the radar thing. And one of my clients was like, just you wait, it is so much harder to maintain your body when you're older because your metabolism is so much slower because, we're in our 60s or 70s now. And then literally, like, I don't know, a week or two later, we had this conversation and she said, you know what? I just mapped out this walk that I used to do before I owned a car. And so in my 20s, I used to have to walk 8 miles every day just to go to work. And I thought, oh, wow, like you literally walked 8 miles every day and now you don't. And that's like a big difference. And so there are so many examples of this. And, even Charlie and I can think of things like when you're young and you're doing quote unquote dumb stuff with your exercise, but you're just moving a whole bunch, that actually does contribute to muscle health and building your activity level. And so even though you might have to modify what you're doing as you age, activity level and exercise amount generally drops, and that is the biggest influencer over your strength rather than just time passing, aka you're getting older.
Exactly. And not only does exercise amount often drop, but exercise intensity often drops as well. And just like you were saying, Julie, like we get to a certain point in life and we want things to feel easier, or we don't want to go through as much struggle as we went through, earlier in our life. The same goes with exercise that we find in life. Is like we want our workouts to feel a little bit easier. We don't want to feel like we are having to push ourselves as hard as we maybe did, in our teens and 20s. Well, guess what? That pushing yourself to that intensity, that's a huge signal to your body to build and keep its strength, to build and keep its muscle. And so if it's not getting that signal of, as intensely, guess what's going to happen? It's not going to keep the strength. It's not going to keep the muscle. And so not only does the frequency and the volume of exercise decrease, the intensity often decreases as well. And so this is what we see so often is we think that, okay, well, we're gaining weight, or things are slowing down because it's my metabolism's fault, because I'm getting older. And really the primary thing that we see hold most people back from doing the things that they want to do in their life is not their metabolism. It's their strength. It is their physical strength, their ability to build muscle, their ability to physically move their bodies in the ways that they're wanting to move, doing the activities that they're wanting to do. And yes, their metabolism may be slowing down. Yes, their metabolism may be part of the equation of like why they may not feel like they have, as much energy as they'd like, everything like that. I'm not saying there aren't metabolism-based issues or metabolism-rooted issues that a lot of people are experiencing. What I'm saying is the primary thing that we see contribute to people not having the quality of life that they would like as they get older is a lack of strength, is not being as physically strong as they are actually required to be in order to do the things that they're wanting to do. Now, the great news about that is there's not really all that much that you can do about aging. There's a lot that you can do about strength, meaning there's not really anything that you can do about the number of days that go by. The days are going to go by, right? And so if we're looking at the days going by as the thing that is controlling our physical state, then it feels like it's completely out of our hands. However, you say, well, the days are going to go by regardless, but I can control how physically strong I am. Now all of a sudden the ball's back in your court, the power is back in your hands to be able to do something about this, to be able to claim ownership not only of your body, but of what you are able to do with your body and do throughout your life. And it comes from shifting your focus away from, oh, well, I need to cut my calories, I need to do more cardio and, be really mindful about what I'm eating. Look, if you want to cut your calories, if you want to, do a little bit more cardio, if you want to be more mindful about what you're eating, great. But at some point that actually may be in direct conflict with what you need to do in order to build your strength, which is going to involve, maybe doing a little bit less cardio, which may involve actually needing to eat some more calories to really fuel your body, to be able to push yourself harder during your strength workouts. And when we see people shift their perspective and their priorities away from, oh, well, it's just about, trying to, compensate for a metabolism that's slower, instead say, well, this is actually all about me getting stronger. Oh, their quality of life goes through the roof. It is a dramatic difference between those two perspectives, in their reality, between those two perspectives.
That's right, Charlie. And I love this idea that you're bringing up, like that was kind of the thread through that whole chunk that you said, which was like taking ownership of like what we can do, right? Like our days, everyone's days are going to go by. And what matters is not the days going by, but what we're doing in those days going by. And so I recently, just yesterday actually, one of my clients came in and she is 53 and she went to this women's retreat. And so it was a women's retreat for like women of all ages. So she like went with one of her friends that was a similar age, like mid 50s. And her friend brought her daughter who was like early 20s. And so they were doing all these like outdoorsy ropes courses, you know, all the like physical archery, all these things. And my client has taken excellent physical care of her health. Like she weight trains multiple times a week. She's active. She's, you know, doing things around her house, gardening. She's just very active and especially focuses on her weight training. And she was like, you know, I'm not that competitive, but like we got on the ropes course and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm competitive. I'm going to race against my friend's daughter who was in her early 20s. And she won. Like my client won. And her daughter was
That's awesome.
like, what? I want to be like you when I get old. And you wouldn't look at my client and be like, wow, you're like a buff, you know, bodybuild. No, she just is consistent with her weight training. And so anyways, her friend's daughter who was in her early 20s was like, I want to be like you when you get old, when I get older. I can't believe you just beat me and blah, blah, blah. And you know what was our conversation turned into this is that everyone talks about how strong they are in their late teens and 20s. And really, if you are putting effort into your strength, if you're in your late teens or 20s, the most amount of time that you've actually probably put in intentional effort is probably like less than 5 years, right? Because up until, you know, in adolescence, most, you know, parents are just trying to get their kids to be active. We're not like, go do squats and go, you know, we're not like lifting weights, right? But maybe in your late teens or mid-teens, you maybe start getting exposed to intentionally trying to strengthen your body. And then a lot of people might start in their 20s, but whatever. The time that you have intentionally put into your body in terms of like trying to work on your strength is so short. So when you reminisce on like, wow, I was just so strong in my 20s, that is like the gift that life has given you. It's not from a lot of the effort that you've put in. And if you have put in effort, you're just getting started. What I was telling my client, I was like, you literally have like 30 years of intentional strengthening on this girl. Everyone should actually be like that. We should all in our mid 50s be stronger than the ones in their 20s. Like that should be the norm. That shouldn't be out of the norm. That should be the norm because most people in their 20s are just riding off of good genetics and I'm just generally active, right? And most people in their 50s, if they're strong, it's because you had that consistent, intentional input into your body. So I wanted to bring that up because I think so many people, again, highlight this natural strength and ability that they have when they're young. But when you're young, you have to think, yeah, I'm young. Not that many years have gone by. And so all this youngness, it hasn't been because I have put the effort in. But if you do put in the effort and you have 30, 40, 50, 60 years of compounded inputs, positive strength inputs, that's going to take you a really long way. And honestly, I feel like people in their 40s, 50s, 60s should be a lot stronger than those in their 20s, especially if there's intention there.
Yeah, the compound effects of exercise really are remarkable. When you see people who have done it for not just a handful of years, but for decades, their physical abilities are quite remarkable, regardless of their age. And so I want to encourage you that if you're sitting here listening to this, and you're like, well, you know, I'm in my 50s, I'm in my 60s, I don't have that compounding effect. Well, today's the day to start. Today is the day to start and start getting that compounding effect of exercise. Because unfortunately, the opposite is also true, where there's a compounding effect of not exercising, a compounding effect of allowing your body to become deconditioned, where it as the days go by, it's not like you just lose, you know, a little bit day by day by day. It's actually a little bit more of a cascading effect where the longer you go, the more intense it can become. And so we want to encourage you that, okay, regardless of where you're at right now, today is a perfect day to start.
Perfect.
Today is the perfect day to start. And then you come back tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, you start to get that compounding effect. And, like we've been saying, the days and the years are going to pass by regardless. It's just a matter of what you're going to do during them. And you look back 5-10 years from now, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is a different body. This is a different being that I have than I had, earlier, simply because I started today. I started right now. So how do we go about doing this? Because if you are listening to this and you're thinking, well, does this mean I need to start doing 1 rep max, exercise, weightlifting and everything like that? No, you don't, but you do need to start challenging yourself, and you need to do so consistently. And if that feels a little bit scary or uncomfortable or overwhelming, either because you're worried about getting hurt or feel like, is going to be too much, don't worry. We have some principles that you can follow to help make sure that that is not the case for you, that you don't leave every single workout feeling achy, beat up, sore, or injured, but rather feel your body getting stronger with each passing workout. And so those are what we call our 4 exercise for life principles. The first exercise for life principle is to make sure that you are using your full symptom-free range of motion. This means while you are doing an exercise, there's not going to be any feeling of stretching, any feeling of pinching, pain, zinginess, nothing like that. The only thing you should be feeling while you're doing the exercise are your muscles squeezing and eventually your muscles fatiguing. And if you can stay within that amount of range of motion while you're doing the exercise, not only will it actually allow your body to give you more range of motion, it's going to keep the exercise a lot safer for your body.
The second principle is you got to make sure that you are maintaining your moving and non-moving parts. When you think about an exercise, there's always a part that is moving and there's a part that shouldn't be moving. When you go and do that set, make sure that you maintain those. So the moving parts stay moving, the non-moving parts stay not moving.
The third exercise for life principle that we have is to move slowly, okay? We say that you should be the slowest person in the gym, but really what this means is at any given moment, you could stop the exercise and you could either just pause right there or you could bring it back to the beginning, whatever it is, right? In other words, you are not using momentum at all to move the weights, to perform the motion, anything like that. You are moving so slowly that, if somebody said stop or somebody said halt or whatever, at that moment you could stop the motion. There's no flinging, there's no bouncing, there's nothing. And then you could either stay right there, you could continue on with the motion, or you could return back. When you move that slowly, not only is it going to keep more the focus on challenging the muscles, it's also going to ensure that you don't exceed the amount of motion that is appropriate for your body. And so it's going to keep you within a safer range of motion for your body, and it's going to keep the challenge and the focus on your muscles.
The last exercise for life principle that keeps you safe, keeps all this really effective, is to make sure that you're focusing on the muscle that you're targeting as you're doing an exercise. So for example, if you're going to go ahead and do bicep curls, while you're doing them, instead of counting reps or scrolling your music or checking out the news, you're going to literally be I'm trying to activate my biceps. I'm focused on my biceps. I'm squeezing my biceps. You want to keep that internal focus, bicep focus for a bicep curl. What this does is it helps the body highlight this area. It also helps your brain-body connection, helps increase balance, coordination, right? Because you're connecting more fully to your body. And this will also help prevent injuries from popping up. So use these 4 exercise for life principles when you are lifting weights. You gotta be challenging your body with regular resistance training. And we have found using these 4 exercise for life principles, you are gonna get the most positive change with the least amount of that negative stuff that keeps a lot of people from weight training because of those negative side effects, soreness or getting injured. So make sure you're following these 4 every single time that you weight train.
Now, the other thing that you need to, in our opinion, absolutely be doing to really make sure that you're getting the most out of your strength training is muscle activation techniques. And the reason why this is so important is because as people get older, especially if they have been sedentary for longer periods of time or have histories of injuries or anything like that, achiness, tightness, pain within their body, those are all signs that there are muscles within your body that aren't working well. And the being sedentary for long periods of time can start to have muscles or start to create muscles that aren't working well, as well as like if you had periods of time in your life where you were highly active, that overworking your muscles can also create this muscle inhibition or muscles that aren't working as well. And so with muscle activation techniques, we're able to identify where within your body you have these muscles that are inhibited, that are not working the way they're supposed to work, and get them working better. And why this is so important from a strength perspective is that because then when you go and you do your traditional strength training, you are able to not only use the muscles that you are wanting to use, but you can make sure that all the muscles that you have available are available for the exercise. All the muscles that that would help you to bend your elbow during a biceps curl are able to do that for you. So when you go and do the exercise, you can strengthen all of those appropriately, and you are not kind of furthering compensations that may already be developing within your body. And so by kind of getting your body to a place where the muscles are working the way they're supposed to work with MAT, and then following up with traditional strength training, we see that people's strength continues to improve year after year after year, allowing them to keep doing the things that they're wanting to do in their life with way more ease, with way less effort than they had been experiencing up to that point, regardless of what their metabolism is doing, regardless if they feel like, I'm carrying around some extra weight or anything like that. When people are stronger, they function better. When people are stronger, they are better able to do the things in life that they want to do, regardless of whether their metabolism is getting slower or anything like that. And so we just want to encourage you that if you feel like, this whole aging process is really taking a toll on my body because I'm just carrying around this extra weight, my metabolism is slower, I can't eat the way I used to eat, everything like that, say, hey, you know what? There's really nothing that we can do about days going by, all right? But there's a lot that we can do about our physical strength. And so if you shift your focus away from the metabolism, instead focus on the physical strength, we see quality of life go up, we see physical function go up, we see people continue to be able to do the things they want to do for as long as they want to do them. So if you're hearing this right now and you'd like our guidance helping you to implement these steps and do this with you, it's exactly what we can help you do at Muscle Activation Schaumburg using muscle activation techniques. Now, all you have to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to www.matschaumburg.com. On our website is a big green button you can click that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We always appreciate you watching on YouTube, you listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you wouldn't mind, share this episode with somebody that is feeling like, the big concern that I have, as I'm getting older is just this extra weight that I'm carrying around. I'm not able to, shed the pounds like I used to or anything like that. And share this with them so they can see that, yes, they may be carrying around extra weight, but the thing that is going to impact their life the most as they get older is actually a loss of strength, not a loss of metabolism. And so that they can take ownership of where they're at right now and start focusing on building their strength. Well, again, thank you for your time and your attention. We always appreciate it. We're wishing you a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.